A grandmother's heartwarming transformation. Discover how a single word changed everything. In the quaint town of Maplewood, Mabel Johnson stood behind the counter of the Sweet Haven, her family's beloved bakery and the heart of the community. At 70, Mabel wore her years like a badge of honor, each wrinkle telling a story of labor and love. But today, she felt the weight of the world pressing down on her fragile shoulders. Business was slow, and her children, driven by their dreams, had drifted far from home, leaving Mabel feeling abandoned, just like the lonely pastries that sat too long in the display case. As the sun dipped low, a young boy named Eli gingerly stepped into the bakery, his bright eyes scanning the golden-crusted pies. "You're the heart of our town, you know," he declared with the kind of innocence that could melt even the coldest of hearts. Those few words crashed into Mabel like a wave, awakening something deep inside her that had begun to fade. She realized she was more than just a baker, she was a unifier, a fixture in the lives of so many. Suddenly, that cold, dull despair was replaced by a flicker of hope. Mabel felt a rush of warmth, a purpose igniting within her. She imagined community baking classes where laughter echoed and fingers are dusted with flour, where neighbors could remind each other of their shared humanity. Could she really rally her town, cut through their disconnectedness, and spark a revival? A spark of inspiration turned her daydream into determination, but as she hatched her plans, doubts pricked at her like thorns. "What does an old grandmother know about saving a town?" murmured a few naysayers at the market. Yet, Mabel was no stranger to the fire of rejection. She'd learned long ago how the warmth of homey pie could chase away chill. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mabel pressed on, organizing a grand festival to highlight local talents and bring everyone together. But as she toiled, a silent rift lingered between her and her children, who weren't on board with her vision. They wanted their own lives, their own dreams, far removed from the bakery's echoing memories. As the festival day approached, her hope felt eclipsed by fear. Would they come? How could she bridge their divide, standing on the day of the festival, surrounded by families and friends? Mabel's heart raced. Yet amidst the chatter, she noticed her children at the edge, their faces torn between concern and admiration. For the first time, they might see her for what she truly was. Just as Mabel took a step toward them, a loud crash rang out, metal clattering, a table tipping, cakes teetering on the brink of disaster. Panic surged through her. Could one grandmother handle this alarming chaos, let alone change the course of her family and community? As hearts raced, the stakes rose high. Would she rise to the challenge or see it all slip away? Mabel froze, her breath catching in her throat as the chaos erupted around her. Time seemed to slow, and the sounds of laughter turned to gasps. The sight of the cakes wobbling on the edge of disaster gripped her heart. She could hear her children whispering to each other, their eyes wide with concern. This was her moment. With newfound determination, Mabel dashed toward the toppled table, her hands instinctively reaching out to steady it. The strong scent of vanilla and caramel wafted up, filling her with memories of baking with her mother in this very kitchen. Despite trembling hands, she steadied the table long enough for a few nearby friends to help her lift it back into place. The cakes were saved, a collective exhale swept through the gathering, cheers erupted, and Mabel's heart soared. She looked up to see Eli watching, his wide eyes sparkling, as if he had witnessed something magical. A wave of warmth washed over her, dispelling the chill of doubt that had lurked just moments before. Maybe she could do this after all. She glanced toward her children. They stood closer now, their previous wariness replaced with curiosity. "Mom, are you okay?" her daughter, Lily, called out, worry etched across her face. The tenderness in that simple question broke something inside Mabel. They were here. They cared. Yes, just a little excitement, Mabel declared, her voice stronger than it had been in years. "Come help me. We have a festival to run." Mabel's call beckoned her children forward, and as they approached, they stepped into the flurry of activity surrounding them. The thrumming heart of the festival pulsed in the rhythm of laughter and camaraderie. As she directed her family on where to find supplies and how to engage with the townsfolk, Mabel felt a bond weave between them, slowly mending the rift that had seemed insurmountable. "What can we do?" Joshua asked, hands on his hips. Mabel marveled at how her son, once resistant, was now ready to dive into the chaos unreservedly. "Help with the pie-eating contest," she suggested. The words flowed out of her like icing on a freshly baked cake. "I'll need someone to mix the batter, and I'll need everyone to cheer loud. Let us get this festival going." Lily smiled, and after a nod and a shared glance, they dove into the task ahead, laughter spilling from their lips as Mabel felt a warmth grow in her chest. The bakery, her second home, was transforming into a joyful hub of activity. As the festivities surged forward, she caught glimpses of her neighbors, friends, and community members all contributing something to the celebration. The warmth spread like sunlight, washing over the sweet haven, and in that moment, Mabel realized she was not just baking for herself, she was feeding souls. But even as she reveled in these sweet moments, an unexpected shadow darted through her thoughts. What if this was just a temporary fix? What if after today, her family drifted apart again? She glanced around, searching for a sign that this reunion would endure beyond the sparks of the festival. As the final rays of sunlight painted the sky, Mabel caught her breath. Tomorrow's worries loomed large, but today felt like magic. She looked at her children, bound by a shared spirit. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something beautiful. Just then, from the bustling crowd, a familiar face emerged. It was Edith, the town's renowned gossip, holding a notepad and pen. "I need to talk to you, Mabel. There's something everyone has been wondering." The air thickened with anticipation. What had she discovered that could change everything? Mabel's heart quickened again, the festival's warmth replaced by a curious chill. Could this be the news that would change the course of her bakery and her family once more? Mabel's breath hitched as she faced Edith, her heart pounding in her chest. The bustling festival faded into the background, the laughter and cheers turning into whispers that barely reached her ears. She couldn't escape the nagging feeling that whatever news Edith had could tip the delicate balance she had just started to restore. "Mabel, you remember how the bakery has been struggling?" Edith's voice was low but carried a weight that made Mabel tense up. "Well, there's been talk around town. People want to know if you're selling it. They're worried about the future of the Sweet Haven." Mabel felt her stomach drop. The very foundation she had just fortified was being threatened anew. "I'm not selling," she managed to reply, though the conviction in her voice wavered. "I'm just trying to find my way." Edith scribbled in her notepad, eyes flicking up to gauge Mabel's reaction. "People have been wondering if you'll bring back the old recipes. You know, the ones your mother used to make." There was a spark in Edith's eyes, as if she were fueling a fire for a story that Mabel hadn't agreed to tell. I can't just bring those back," Mabel stammered, the memories of her mother's kitchen flooding her mind, the warmth, the laughter, the love, and the loss. How could she recreate that? "But what if," Edith pressed, leaning in with an intensity that made Mabel's heart race, "you shared that part of yourself? What if that's what everyone is waiting for? Your family, the community, they all want to connect with you, but perhaps they're unsure how." Mabel glanced at her children, still busy at the pie-eating contest, their laughter pure and unguarded. In that moment, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Had she really been keeping them at arm's length all this time? "I need to think about it," she whispered, more to herself than to Edith. The idea of sharing her mother's legacy felt like both a warm invitation and a terrifying challenge. What if she failed to capture that essence again? Edith nodded, her eyes softening. "Just consider it, Mabel. Sometimes the chance for a new beginning rests on the old paths that once led us home." Before Mabel could respond, Edith slipped back into the crowd, her notepad in hand, leaving behind a whirlwind of thoughts. With her heart racing and her mind whirling, Mabel returned to the heart of the festival. The sounds of joy surrounded her, but the weight of uncertainty anchored her feet. Could she really step into the realm of her mother's baking? And what if she let herself become vulnerable again? Could that lead to healing for her family? She needed to shake off the weight that threatened to crush her spirit. Glancing at her children, Mabel felt an urge to reclaim her joy, to surround herself with laughter uninterrupted by doubts. "Hey, everyone!" she called, amplifying her voice over the buzzing crowd. "Who's ready for a bake-off? Let's make some memories." Lily and Joshua cheered and dashed over, excitement radiant on their faces. Mabel's heart swelled as she realized this festival was not just a flurry of activities but a catalyst for family bonding. Perhaps, she could weave her mother's recipes into their future without letting go of the warmth in her own heart, but as she looked around, the nagging thought lingered. What would happen if sharing her past opened the door to something she wasn't ready to face? As the festivities continued into the night, Mabel could feel the flickering flame of change lighting her path. Sometimes, it takes just one word to set everything in motion. But would it be enough to heal the wounds buried in her heart? And as the first stars began to twinkle in the dusky sky, Mabel pondered the question, could she find the courage to embrace her past and rebuild her future? Mabel was caught in a whirlwind of feelings as she stood among the festival lights twinkling like stars. She could still hear Edith's words echoing in her mind, words that had ignited something deep inside. Her breath steadied, and with each passing moment, the seeds of possibility began to take root. "Okay, kids." Mabel clapped her hands together, breaking away from her thoughts. "Let's make this bake-off the best one yet." She raised her arms, encouraging the onlookers to join in. The laughter of Lily and Joshua, their faces illuminated with excitement, made her heart flutter. For them, she would face her fears. With a burst of energy, she gathered flour, sugar, and the other baking essentials. This was different from what she had been doing before. There was a spark of inspiration as she glanced at the nostalgic recipes in her mind, each one tied to a cherished memory. She envisioned the little kitchen filled with the sweet aroma of butter and vanilla, her mother guiding her hands as they mixed the ingredients together. "Let's do cupcakes," Lily shouted, her eyes dancing in the glow of festivity. "With frosting and sprinkles." Mabel smiled, but a tinge of uncertainty pricked at her heart. "How about we try my mom's vanilla cake recipe?" The words came tumbling out before she could think them through. The kitchen crowded with an air of energy at the suggestion, and Joshua's eyes widened in curiosity. "Mom, can we?" he asked with pure enthusiasm. Mabel looked into their eager faces, innocent, new to the world, and yet so connected to her own history. "Yes," she found herself saying, surprising even herself with the joy in her voice. "Let's do it together." As they set to work, rolling dough and blending batter, each moment transformed the doubt into laughter. The kids added too much sugar, but Mabel merely smiled, adjusting the balance without them noticing. They shared stories, each little tale bringing them closer, a bridge being built between the past and the present. The atmosphere was alive with chatter and giggles, a welcome distraction from Mabel's fears. For the first time in a long while, she felt light. The sweet chaos of baking filled the air, the mixing bowls becoming their shared canvas, the kitchen their stage. "Remember when Grandma would bake us cupcakes?" Joshua asked, batter splattering onto his cheek. Mabel felt a sharp twinge, the memories vibrant but bittersweet. "Yes," she said softly, wiping a tear that threatened to escape. "Those were special times." Just then, an unexpected bystander joined their fun, a curious neighbor, Mrs. Withers, who had come to check out the commotion. "What a lovely sight, Mabel. Are those the old family recipes making a comeback?" she asked, beaming with delight. The question hung in the air. Mabel bit her lip, torn between her growing desire to share her family's legacy and the vulnerability that came with it. Maybe this was her step forward. Maybe opening her heart wouldn't just help her heal but would create a ripple effect through her community as well. But before she could fully embrace the thought, the oven timer chimed. All three rushed to check their creations, anticipation written across their faces. As Mabel opened the oven door, the buttery scent wafted out and filled her with warmth. The cakes were turning golden, their surfaces perfectly risen. There was a beauty in the imperfection, much like her own journey surfacing in front of her. "Mom, they look amazing," Lily squealed, her joy spilling over. but just as pride washed over Mabel, another question formed: what would she do next? As they pulled the cakes out to cool, she could feel another shift within. Sharing her mother's recipes was more than just baking, it was about connection, about forging a new path for herself and her children. Would she find the courage to let her past guide her forward? With her heart full yet wrestling with the next step, Mabel gazed at her kids, her vision blurred by emotions. Could this festival be the launching point for something bigger than herself? And just as uncertainty crept back in, she heard a distant voice call out, "Mabel! When will we get to taste those old recipes?" The laughter rang in her ears. Would she be ready to say yes? As the golden cake settled on the cooling rack, Mabel inhaled deeply, savoring the moment. The sweet scent enveloped her, lacing memories of her childhood with the present joy of her children's laughter. Yet uncertainty clawed at her heart. What would she actually share with them? Could she, a woman still learning to stand tall, truly unveil the cherished recipes that had meant so much? "Can I help decorate them, Mom?" Lily asked, her small hands clapping in excitement. "Please, please." Mabel shot her daughter a smile, one that revealed both pride and apprehension. "Okay, let us get the frosting ready." As they busied themselves with bowls of colorful frosting, pink, blue, and white, it felt like a burst of joy was exploding in the kitchen. Mabel showed them how to spread the frosting thick and swirling, and the kids joined in with fervor, their giggles harmonizing with the festive music draping through the air from the festival outside. "Just like Grandma did it," Joshua exclaimed, and Mabel's heart quickened. Hearing their reference to his grandmother felt like a gentle nudge. Maybe it was time to share more than just the cake. "Do you remember how Grandma used to tell us stories while baking?" she asked, sensing a new path unfolding before her. The kids paused, frosting-covered spatulas in their hands, eyes shining with curiosity. "She always made the best cookies, too," Lily chimed in, her face lighting up with memories. "Ah, but did you know her secret ingredient?" Mabel leaned forward, widening the intrigue. "It wasn't just the love, it was how she always added a little bit of laughter." They all chuckled together, and in that moment, she realized it wasn't just about recipes or desserts. It was about sharing love and lessons, about laughter sprinkled on every layer, a cherished legacy handed down through generations. As they laughed, Mabel's internal struggle faded like icing on a cake. Each moment felt like the peeling of layers from her heart, scary yet exhilarating. She could feel something awakening within her, a flicker of courage igniting. "Hey, how about we make this a family event?" Mabel suggested suddenly, a rush of excitement bubbling up. "We can invite everyone from the neighborhood, and I'll share the recipe, the stories, all of it." Lily and Joshua exchanged wide-eyed glances, the prospect thrilling them. "Yes!" they shouted in unison, causing Mabel to giggle. As they piled the finished cakes high on a platter, Mrs. Withers returned, her arms filled with fresh berries and smiling widely. "I couldn't resist. Can I join in that cake tasting?" Mabel felt warmth bloom within her. The festival was buzzing outside, but inside, a community was being formed, stitched together not by flour and sugar, but by shared stories and connections. Mabel knew now that by allowing others to taste her family history, she was mending her own fragmented past. The sound of the festival grew louder, the laughter, the music blending with their joy. Mabel suddenly felt a sense of belonging, as if she was not only making cake but weaving a tapestry of relationships lined with love and nostalgia. But just then, the thought crept back: what if the sharing didn't go as planned? What if she stumbled over her words? A tremor of doubt echoed through her mind. As they gathered the decorative cakes to bring outside, Mabel hesitated. She stood at the door, the warm glow spilling into the cool night, uncertainty pulling her back like an anchor. Just outside, the shouts and cheer of the festival beckoned. Could she truly go beyond her fear? Was she ready to unveil her mother's legacy? With her heart humming, she glanced back at her children, their smiles brightening the dim corners of her worries. Could this moment become a turning point not just for her, but for the whole neighborhood? Together, she whispered, as they stepped into the festival, a cake in hand, an uncertainty in her heart, but just as she was about to call out for everyone to join her, she caught sight of someone familiar stepping towards her, a figure from her past she never expected to see again. Mabel's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the figure approaching, a silhouette framed by the lights of the festival. It was Rebecca, her old friend from high school. The years had added softness to her features and a warmth to her smile, yet an unsettled knot formed in Mabel's chest, memories flooding in uninvited. "Rebecca?" Her voice wavered, like the flickering lights surrounding them. "Mabel. I wasn't sure if it was you," Rebecca exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with surprise and delight. They moved toward each other, tentative at first, then embraced, the years of separation melting away in that single moment. Mabel felt the weight of the past shift slightly, the warmth of their connection reigniting the embers planted long ago. "What a wonderful surprise," Mabel said, stepping back to look at her friend. She searched for the words, but her mind felt jumbled. "I saw the hustle and bustle of your family and the cakes." Rebecca gestured toward the colorful platters overflowing with frosted treats. "I had to come and see. It looks amazing. Are you going to share your family's recipes?" Mabel's heart raced. Rebecca had always been the confident one, the chatterer, while Mabel had often lingered in the shadows of doubt. Could she share not just the recipes but her truth? Could she reveal the fears she kept hidden all these years? The thought sent her stomach churning. With a cautious smile, she replied, "I'm trying to. I thought tonight would be the start of something new for me and the kids." "Oh, Mabel, that's wonderful. Your mom would be so proud," Rebecca said, and in that moment, something snapped inside Mabel. It was as if the past had given her a gentle push forward. "Why don't we tell the others?" Mabel said, feeling a swell of determination rise within her. Together, they moved through the crowds, laughter echoing around them like confetti. As they reached a small group of neighbors gathered around a makeshift stage, Rebecca spoke up. "Hey, everyone. Mabel's brought her delicious cakes, but that's not all. She's about to share her family's secret recipes." Mabel's heart thudded painfully in her chest as excited chatter buzzed through the crowd. The friendly faces looked expectantly at her, their eyes bright with support. Suddenly, her small worries began swirling with a sense of hope. Could this truly be a turning point? She stumbled over her words, but the faces around her seemed to encourage her to continue. "I want to share my mom's recipes, but more than that, I want to share the stories behind them." The crowd quieted, leaning in with rapt attention. Mabel could feel the warmth of connection enveloping her, as if they were all part of something that transcended just her story. She remembered what her mother had taught her, that each bite they took held a piece of laughter, tears, and love. Slowly, she began to recount the tales behind the cakes, memories intertwining with the present, but in the back of her mind, a dark thought crept in: would they really care? Would the stories resonate with them? As she finished her first story, she glanced at Joshua and Lily, their proud faces beaming with excitement. A newfound courage surged through Mabel. Just as she was about to delve deeper, Rebecca caught her eye and smiled knowingly, easing her doubts like the sun breaking through clouds. "Let's taste a cake," called Mrs. Withers from the crowd, and laughter bubbled up. Mabel's heart twitched in anticipation, but just as the atmosphere grew electric with excitement, a voice cut through the revelry. "This was supposed to be mine. You have no idea what you're playing with, Mabel." Mabel froze, recognition slamming into her like a gust of wind. Her estranged sister, Carla, stood at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed, a look of displeasure etched across her face. The moment felt heavy, like a weight suddenly added to her heart. What would Carla's presence mean for this moment she'd long awaited? Would she shatter the fragile connection Mabel had just begun to weave? Mabel's breath hitched. The laughter of the festival faded into a tense silence. Carla's eyes bore into her, and the echoes of what might come next loomed over Mabel like a storm cloud. Could she really share her mother's legacy now? Would her sister rip her past apart once more? The crowd lingered on the edge of curiosity, unsure of what would unfold next. Mabel felt a chill as she locked eyes with Carla. Confusion and anger swirled in her sister's gaze, darkening the festive atmosphere like a shadow. The laughter around her dimmed, and it was as if she stood on an island, isolated from the joy surrounding her. "Mabel, seriously?" Carla's voice cut through the stillness, heavy with disdain. "You think you can just waltz in here and take credit for Mom's recipes like you've been keeping them all this time?" A ripple of discomfort passed through the crowd. Some exchanged worried glances while others shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to react. Mabel clenched her fists, feeling unsteady on her feet. "That's not it, Carla. I just wanted to share them," Mabel responded, her voice trembling yet defiant. "Mom's recipes meant something special to all of us. I thought we could celebrate together, not fight about it." "Celebrate?" Carla scoffed. "You always had your head buried in the flour, thinking cooking would make everything right. Newsflash, it didn't tea for Mom, and it won tea for you." Her words hit Mabel like stones, cold and unforgiving. Mabel's heart sank, a weight anchoring her to the spot. Memories of their childhood flickered through her mind, a chaotic kitchen filled with laughter, but also the heartache of loss. She yearned for reconciliation, but Carla's voice was like a loud alarm, shaking her resolve. Unprepared and trembling, Mabel glanced towards Joshua and Lily. They looked to her for strength just as the crowd around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next chapter of this unexpected confrontation. "I'm not trying to replace her," Mabel declared, taking a small step forward. "I want to honor her. To keep her memory alive. Maybe if you could join me," she hesitated, hope flickering in her chest. The quiet murmur of the crowd urged her on, and she pressed, "I'd love for us to do it together." But Carla's expression hardened, her defenses towering higher. "Do it together? Why would I help you? You've never supported me, not in the way that matters." The word struck Mabel down. She had always believed she was just a shadow in their family, lingering behind Carla's confidence. The burning need for her sister's acceptance pulsed painfully in her chest. The flicker of hope began to dim, replaced by doubt and sadness. "I've always cared," Mabel whispered, her voice almost breaking. "I was always too scared to say it." Silence wrapped around them like a shroud, thick with tension. The resentment that had pooled between them over the years now churned in the air like storm clouds. Mabel's heart raced as she faced her sister, searching for any sign of softness beneath the anger. "Maybe I should have fought for us more," Mabel continued, feeling a spark of courage ignite. "But it doesn't have to stay this way. We can write a new story, if you'd let us." There was another pause, and the spectators seemed to lean in closer, their faces a blend of empathy and anticipation. Carla studied Mabel, her strong exterior still unyielding, yet Mabel felt something shift, a flicker of recognition, perhaps, the tiniest hint of vulnerability. Just then, a child's excited voice pierced the air. "Can we taste the cakes now? Please?" A little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve, and slowly some laughter began to trickle back into the crowd. Mabel took a deep breath, wanting to recapture the moment, to diffuse the edge in the air. Turning to the crowd, she glanced back at Rebecca, who nodded with encouragement. "Yes. Let us taste the cakes. They're filled with love and memories, just like tonight." But as she stepped away from the tension, she sensed Carla still lingering, watching closely, gauging her next move. Mabel couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was on the horizon. Could this moment truly spark a change? Would Carla join her instead of standing on the sidelines? And just as Mabel began to feel that flicker of hope ignite once more, another unexpected voice emerged from the crowd. "Mom would want us to come together, you know." Mabel turned, eyes wide, as a familiar face stepped into the light there. Long-lost cousin, Anna, someone they hadn't seen in years. Would Anna's presence add tension or a chance for healing between the sisters? Mabel held her breath, feeling a new chapter waiting to unfold. Anna's smile was bright yet comforting, radiating warmth in the chilly atmosphere that had settled over the event. The laughter that had begun to ripple through the crowd faded slightly, replaced by curious whispers. Mabel's heart raced. It had been so long since they had seen Anna. "Anna!" Mabel exclaimed, her voice breaking with disbelief. "I thought you weren't coming." "I couldn't miss the chance to celebrate with family," Anna said, stepping forward. I heard someone was cooking up a storm in honor of Auntie May. And I knew I had to be here. She glanced between Mabel and Carla, her expression shifting to one of concern. What is going on? Carla rolled her eyes, crossing her arms tightly. Nothing that concerns you, Anna. But Anna wasn't deterred. Actually, she replied, her voice firm yet gentle, it does concern me. Family is all that matters, especially on a night like this. Mabel felt a flutter of hope. Anna always had a way of drawing people together. I just want to honor Mom's memory, Mabel managed to say, her heart pounding. We can do it together, Carla, you and I want to make this special for everyone. The last time we tried to do something together, it ended in disaster, Carla snapped, frustration leaking into her tone. But that was years ago, Anna interjected quietly. We all changed since then. We lost so much, but tonight is about celebrating who we are now and remembering where we come from. Mabel searched Carla's face, desperation welling inside her. It's not too late. We have a chance to be a family again. Why should I trust you? Carla shot back, her walls still up. You've spent all this time away, pretending to be fine while I dealt with every mess. Mabel's trying to share something beautiful with us, Anna said, her voice softening. And I think Aunt May would have wanted it that way. You remember how much she loved family gatherings. She wanted us to cook together, laugh together. Amid the tension, the crowd began to lean in, captivated by the exchange. Mabel locked eyes with Anna, feeling the weight of both support and worry. If anyone could reach Carla, it was Anna. Let us make one of Mom's recipes tonight, Anna continued, a spark of mischief in her eyes. What about her famous chocolate cake? I'll help you, Mabel. We can create something together, just like we used to. Mabel's heart swelled at the suggestion. Yes. We could create memories with it, just like when we were kids. Carla's expression shifted slightly, her arms loosening just a bit. Fine, she finally said, her voice quiet but resolute. But if I'm doing this, I'm doing it my way. Of course, Mabel said, her voice rising with excitement. Maybe this was what they needed, a fresh start, a chance to blend their different styles into one. As they began to gather ingredients, laughter returned. Mabel could feel the energy shift in the room, a wave of togetherness washing over what had been a strained atmosphere. Carla hesitated, glancing back at Anna, who winked reassuringly. You've got this, Anna whispered. Heart racing, Mabel called out, who remembers the secret ingredient Mom always added? The laughter grew as people began to shout out answers, memories flooding the air. But then something unexpected happened. An older family friend approached Mabel with a serious expression. Mabel, can I talk to you for a moment? Mabel's heart sank as she recognized the gravity in his tone. What could possibly be so urgent now? She turned back to the bustling kitchen, feeling the atmosphere of joy she wanted to create start to waver again. Would this encounter shatter their newly forged bond, or was it a chance to strengthen it? As she stepped away into the corner, dread unfurling in her stomach, Mabel wondered what new truths were waiting to unravel. Mabel followed the older man, her mind racing. She could sense the humidity of apprehension thickening in the air. As she turned the corner, she found a quieter space, far from the lively kitchen and the laughter that echoed like music in her ears. The man stood posted against the wall, his hands fidgeting nervously. Mabel, he said softly, avoiding her gaze. I don't want to ruin the evening for you, but there is something you should know. It's about your grandmother. Her stomach lurched. What about Grandma? Each word felt heavier than the last as he sighed deeply, as if considering his next move with great care. She's been having some health issues. Nothing immediate to worry about, but his voice trailed off, and he looked at her then, deep concern etched on his face. Health issues? What kind? Is she okay? Mabel's voice wavered, panic flickering like candlelight. I think you need to talk to her, he said slowly. She wants to see you, Mabel. She mentioned you specifically. Something about needing to share something important. Mabel swallowed hard. She felt a whirl of emotions spinning inside her. How had everything shifted so quickly? Moments ago, she'd been trying to rebuild her family, hoping to revive memories with her mother's recipes. Now, the reality of their well-being was crashing in like a tidal wave. Would this overshadow everything they were trying to accomplish tonight? Okay, I'll talk to her, Mabel whispered, suddenly feeling that pull to the kitchen, a desire to finish what they had started, and yet this looming conversation with Grandma felt urgent and crucial that he nodded. You'll find her on the porch. Just be gentle. It's hard for her to talk about it. As Mabel turned to head out, thoughts raced through her mind. She wanted tonight to be perfect. She wanted to laugh like old times and feel the warmth of family. But now there was uncertainty basking in the joy, and threads began to unravel. She stepped outside onto the porch. The cold air nipped at her skin, but it was nothing compared to the chill gripping her heart. Sitting in the rocking chair was Grandma, wrapped in a cozy blanket. The moonlight illuminated her face, revealing the years etched with love, wisdom, and, most troublingly, vulnerability. Grandma, Mabel said gently, her voice barely above a whisper. As her grandmother turned, a soft smile emerged, though it didn't reach her weary eyes. My dear Mabel, I'm so glad you're here. Is it true? Mabel asked, her words trembling. About your health? What has been going on? There was a long pause, a moment that seemed to stretch endlessly. Grandma took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly. I've been trying to hold it together for the sake of the family. But there are things I'd like to share before it's too late. Mabel felt dread pooling in her stomach. What do you mean? Is it serious? With a nod, Grandma looked away, gazing into the distance, as if expecting the past to show up. There are secrets, Mabel. Family secrets that could change everything. Mabel leaned in, her heart racing. What kind of secrets? Before her grandmother could answer, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, snapping their focus back to the warmth and laughter, now turned muted. Mabel's heart skipped a beat. What was that? She glanced between the lively movement indoors and her grandmother, who looked pale. I don't know. But we should check. But Grandma grasped Mabel's hand, holding it tightly. Forget the noise for a moment, Mabel. Promise me you'll listen. Mabel's heart thudded. Would she uncover family truths tonight? Or would chaos erupt before she could grasp them? She felt the urgency building within her. Okay, she whispered, steeling herself for the unknown. I promise. But as another shout rang out from inside, Mabel's resolve crumbled. What would it take for her family to come together in true understanding? And as she gazed into her grandmother's eyes, she wondered, was this just the beginning of revelations that would change everything, or would the rift grow deeper? Mabel's heart raced as she pulled her grandmother closer, the warmth of her hand a tether in the chaos unraveling just beyond the porch. She could hear the muffled laughter of the festival and sense the crowd's joy filtering through the door, but right now, the urgency of their conversation clouded everything else. Before we go back in, you need to tell me what's on your heart, Mabel urged quietly, her eyes searching her grandmother's face for answers. With a shaky breath, Grandma nodded. There's something you need to know about the recipes, and about our family's history. It's not just baked goods. These recipes are our stories, woven with love and lessons through generations. Mabel swallowed hard, a sense of dread mingling with hope. What do you mean? The recipes contain our family's truths, Grandma continued, her voice a mere whisper against the night's calm breeze. When I was young, I made a promise to uphold the family's legacy. But it comes with weight, Mabel. I kept secrets, burdens from your mother that she never had a chance to share. Secrets that shaped our family's past. The weight of her words hung thick in the air. Mabel felt a flicker of fear. What kind of secrets? Grandma's gaze fell to the ground, lost in memories. Your mother was afraid if she revealed too much, it would shatter us. She dealt with heartache, struggles with feeling inadequate, feeling like a failure as she tried to build her own dreams while holding our family together. Mabel's heart ached, recalling her mother's quiet resilience, the melancholy smile she used to wear. I didn't know I thought she was strong. She was strong, dear, stronger than anyone I've ever known. But everyone has their battles, Grandma replied, her voice tinged with sadness. I just wish your mother had felt safe enough to share more, to lean into the support she had in us. A rush of understanding hit Mabel. Is this why we've been so distant? Why I felt lost, why Carla and I have always fought? Yes. We were all carrying weights we couldn't share, Grandma murmured, her eyes glistening. But it's time to lighten that load. I want you to promise me something passed down our family's secrets, but you have to do it with openness and love. Mabel felt a knot in her throat, the gravity of her grandmother's request sinking deep within. But how? What if it leads to more fights, more division? Every family must face hard truths, Grandma replied, squeezing Mabel's hand tighter. But unity comes from understanding. Explore our past, let it shape how you connect with your present. Start by sharing your mother's recipes, the tales that come alive within them. In that moment, a realization dawned on Mabel. I can do that, but you have to help me. I will, my dear. We do it together. A sudden, loud crash disrupted their resolve, shouting and laughter scrambling back to her ears. Mabel felt her heart pound. We can't ignore the chaos inside. We can face it together, Grandma said, her voice strengthened by conviction. Share my stories and don't forget, even the messiest moments can bring us closer. With a shared nod, Mabel and Grandma rose. Hand in hand, they stepped back into the warmth of the festival, where tensions were still sizzling, caught somewhere between old resentments and new beginnings. As they entered, the scene was turmoil. Cake toppled, frosting splattered, and kids squealing. Mabel shot a look at Carla, who was folded into herself, a mix of frustration and hurt etched on her face. We all need to come together now, Mabel whispered to Grandma. Mabel raised her voice, cutting through the panic. Everyone, can I have your attention? The crowd turned, curiosity filling the air, laughter pausing. Tonight is special. It's not just about cake, it's about connecting the way we were meant to be as family and community. Joshua and Lily rushed over, eyes bright. Mom! Did you get to talk to Grandma? They chimed in. Yes, my loves. And it's time we share what we've learned, Mabel said, her heart steadying. Let us share the recipes, the stories behind them. They're filled with memories and love, and they deserve to be honored. And who knows? Maybe we'll find our passion as we share them. Carla, still distant, frowned but couldn't hide the glimmer of interest. Mabel pressed on. Let us resurrect those traditions, bake together, laugh together, heal together. It starts with compassion. The murmurs shifted, friendly faces brightening with anticipation. Mabel felt everyone leaning closer, ready to open their hearts, ready to share their truths through the art of baking, and then Mabel locked eyes with Carla, who stood at the edge. Will you join us? For a moment, Carla hesitated, the weight of their histories bearing down. But Mabel held on to hope, feeling the strength of her grandmother's words. When Carla finally stepped forward, Mabel's heart soared. I'll join, but just know this, we don't sweep our past under the rug anymore. She declared, half smiling. We don't. Mabel replied back, her heart full of joy. As the crowd erupted in support, a tide of laughter filled the air once more, pulling everyone into the fold. As they began gathering ingredients, neighbors, friends, and family tossed their pasts aside, rolling up their sleeves. The joy of baking intermingled with stories, laughter weaving a tapestry of connection once more. Mabel took a breath. The anger and hurt were not gone, but a new chapter had begun. With Grandma's and Carla's support, she could finally share their family's truth, and perhaps find a way to write their future anew. As the festival lights twinkled overhead, Mabel felt filled with joy, love, and newfound strength. The journey ahead might be complicated, but she had her family by her side, and together, they were going to reshape their legacy from the past into something beautiful. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your emotions and thoughts about this heartfelt ending. Every word matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. It's time to spread hope and healing. You need to support this community.